Hello, I'm so glad to be here with you today at Penobscot Marine Museum. Please write questions and comments because we love hearing from you. Today, we have some stories of women at sea. So this is a fun topic and I'm looking forward to it. I'm Sarah at Penobscot Marine Museum. This is a painting of the SF Hershey. Maria Whall traveled a long journey with her husband, Captain Charles Waterhouse, sailing on this ship. Captain Waterhouse got sick and died in Australia. Imagine being Maria in this situation. Suddenly a widow on the other side of the world with no family there. And as if that wasn't difficult enough, on the way back, the crew mutinied. Maria took a brace of pistols. The cook joined her with meat cleavers. The mutineers gave up and they returned safely to New York City. Clara Blanchard was born Clara Pendleton. She sailed with her father as a child, and then she married Captain William Blanchard in 1863. She sailed with him for many more years. 4 of their children were born at sea, and they were all delivered by William. After a long career, Captain Blanchard retired in 1904 and took passage heading home with his son Frederick, who was at this point grown and captain of his own ship, Willard Mudgett. They traveled on the Willard Mudgett together. Clara was at home in Searsport. The Willard Mudgett was lost at sea with no survivors. She lost both a son and a husband. Thank you again so much for joining us today at Penobscot Marine Museum. Please write comments and questions. We love hearing from you. This is a photo of the Gilkey family. Georgia Maria Gilkey grew up on ships sailing with her family, and she is here in this picture. This is her father, Captain Gilkey, her mom, and her sister, and this is Maria right here, over to the right, sitting on this huge barrel. We have writings from Georgia Maria Gilkey herself, and I'm going to read to you some of what she wrote. She says, I was graduated from Searsport High School in 1904 and went to work in Mrs. Jenny Hunter's store. Banning took me sleigh riding. The sleighs turned over, dumping us into the snow. An old lady friend of ours said, that's a sure sign that you'll get married. And sure enough, they did. And after the wedding, George's mother provided a lunch for the family. And then she and Banning left on a train to go to Philadelphia to get onto his ship. So Phineas Banning Blanchard, his ship is the Bangalore, and that's this beautiful watercolor here. The Bangalore was a steel-hulled clipper ship. You can see there's so many sails. If you've seen some of our other images of ships, this has a lot of extra sails so that it can go really fast. Georgia Maria writes, October 9th, when the tug left us, we were on our own, Banning's and my honeymoon. We spent a few days in Philadelphia buying equipment Banning thought I needed, as he had decided to teach me navigation and about the stars. We started right off working the sights each day and marking on my chart. Banning would be on deck, looking at the sun through his sextant, while I was in the cabin looking at the chronometer. When he would shout, "Time!" I would put down on paper what it said on the chronometer. Then I would take my turn on deck, and we would work out the position of the ship and place it on the chart. A little more than 3 months at sea, and there was work to be done on the sails. I helped Banning by threading needles. I was also learning to determine the latitude by the moon. At this time, it was really rare for a woman to get the opportunity to learn navigation. So to know that Georgia Maria Gilkey Blanchard was able to do that is something unusual. I have one last interesting photograph here. This is taken by a young lady named Ruth Montgomery. Ruth Montgomery sailed for much of her childhood with her father, Captain Albert Montgomery. When Ruth was about 15 years old, she started taking photographs. And in those days, it involved quite a bit of chemistry. And it wasn't like our cameras today. Ruth took this photograph when she was 18 years old on her father's ship, the Carrie Winslow. And Ruth has a really cool story, and she traveled many times with her family. But I'm really intrigued at the other woman in this image. We have Pa and Wheatley sewing sails is what Ruth wrote on the back of this photograph. And sure enough, we can see them sewing on the sails here. But she doesn't mention this really interesting woman at the back here who's carrying perhaps a lunch pail or something like that. We don't know who she is. We may never know. I'm really intrigued by this anonymous woman. What do you think her story is? I wonder how many thousands and thousands of women have untold stories because they were working too hard to have time to write diaries. We have, for example, no paintings or photographs or diaries of a woman named Eliza Griffin. She lived on a salvaged schooner in the Black and mixed race community on Malaga Island in Maine. Oral histories report that she wore trousers and was excellent at fishing. Hundreds of thousands of stories like hers have been lost to time and due to who it is who decides to write history and what they decide to write about. Thank you so much. I loved this topic. It's a fascinating one to me. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. This programming has been made possible in part by the National Endowment for the Humanities, Exploring the Human Endeavor. Thank you also so much to our members and donors. We're very grateful for you to make these presentations possible. Next week, we'll be having paintings from Percy Sanborn, a local marine artist who also painted a cat. Thank you so much, and see you next week.